Have you ever felt like you're not allowed to be all of you? Like you've got this whole chapter of your life, this massive part of who you are, but it doesn't fit neatly into who you're supposed to be. Maybe it was a slow fade away from your true self. Well, it's confession time. That is my story, and I'm owning up to it now. Because you see, I've come to realize, like, for the last 8 years, I've barely mentioned my 15-year career in aerospace engineering, even though it has shaped how I think, how I lead, how I coach, even how I see the world. So why have I left such a very cool part of my life in the wings? Why haven't I talked about it? See, because after I left that industry, I really felt lost. I felt unmoored. Like leaving that career that everyone said was fantastic, it wasn't what I was supposed to do. Like I didn't leave because I hated the work. I loved it. Like I loved the people I worked with. I just spent time with them last night for a retirement party for one of my most beloved coworkers. So what's up, Mama G? See, I love testing systems that were going to space. I love that adventure. I love not knowing if it was going to work. But, during that career, like something shifted. Like one of my closest friends from childhood died suddenly. And that caused me to reevaluate my life. And while I was in that career, our company got bought by venture capitalists. The energy of the company changed. The mission got blurry. And for the first time, I looked around and thought, this is not where I think I'm meant to be. And it scared the heck out of me. But even after leaving engineering 8 years ago and turning my side hustle photography into my full-time gig, like I still actually didn't feel free. Like I felt like I had to hide that part of me when I was in engineering. Because when I started my photography business, like I was on completely untested ground. And I didn't want, and I thought like being known as like the former NASA guy, the engineer would confuse people. People be like, you can't be a good photographer because you're an engineer. Like I let these stories, I let these limiting beliefs get in my head. I thought that part of the story didn't belong anymore. So I buried it. Like I didn't walk away from aerospace. I drifted because I didn't know how to carry all of me into what was next. I didn't have the confidence to do it all those years ago. But what I've come to realize is this. You don't move forward by erasing your past. You move forward by integrating it. And I'm finally owning the fact that in my engineering career, I got to breathe some pretty rare air with the things I did. Like I was taught how to safely wire rocket engines and explosives. Like I sat in rooms having real conversations about how to increase the safety of fighter pilots. And as bonus points, heads up, I'm going to be nerding out a lot. I got to work with crews of my all-time favorite aircraft, the A-10 Warthog. And those of you that know what I just said. See, my background in aerospace wasn't just something I used to do, I've come to realize. It was where like I unknowingly assembled this launch vehicle for what you're watching right now, especially for what's coming up next at the end of the summer. So like everything I teach now, confidence, consistency, self-trust, elite action, it all has its roots in what I learned in the lab, on the test stand, and in hangars across this planet. See, in aerospace, every mission starts with clarity. Like we're going to Mars, right? We have checklists, we have communications, and most of all, we trust in what we're doing. And we do it so we set ourselves up for success, even though there's actually no guarantee of success. Like we didn't launch missions because we were 100% sure everything was going to work. We were never 100% sure things were going to work. And guess what? That's okay. We launched because we did the prep. We trusted our systems. We took action anyway because we knew the cost of inaction was more detrimental than possibly failing. Because guess what? We were going to learn something if we failed. And that's the same mindset I teach now. You don't wait for perfect. You don't let fear ground you. You take calculated, consistent action. So I'm not hiding this past anymore. This like really cool past I have because it isn't the past. What it is the foundation. And if you've ever felt like you had to leave a part of you behind to move forward, let me tell you something. That part of you might just be your unfair advantage. Like the things that you think disqualify you from whatever you think you want to do, whatever you're trying to do now, it might be what makes you unshakable now. And here's what that means going forward. Going forward, I'll be sharing real stories from the field, both the adventures and the numerous misadventures from my engineering today days and also my photography career. Because again, I was fortunate enough to breathe some pretty rare air in that. So, like I'll be tying in stories of how being suspended hundreds of feet above the Gulf of Mexico or Gulf of America or whatever we're calling it these days, being strapped to the end of a crane basket taught me some very important concepts about looking at the big picture and pausing a beat to think things through on the ground so we could complete our tasks at hand when the pressure was really on. Or maybe about how when I took a stand for what I knew was right, despite extreme ridicule I took from a lot of people, actually saved lives more than one instance. Like when a prototype designed to go to Venus just went boom and just exploded in front of everyone during a test. But everybody got to go home safe that day. See, because behind every polished keynote, every workshop I do, every lesson I teach, there's a story that costs something to learn. And I think it's time to start sharing those stories. What do you think? So, if you're in for some nerdy stories about how our teams built, tested, and eventually launched things to Mars that landed successfully and one time did not land successfully, and you want to hear stories and lessons I learned standing next to live VX nerve gas during a test, which, spoiler alert, VX nerve gas is not kept in those fancy little green spheres like Nicolas Cage had in the movie The Rock. That is not true. If those are the kind of things you're in for, buckle up for my new content and as I release what's next for me. Because the best lessons obviously don't come from textbooks. They came from turbulence. And I've had a lot of turbulence in my life. So here's what I've noticed in myself in nearly other high performer I coach or just even know. We are terrible at owning our accomplishments. We downplay our wins. We skip the celebrations. And even when we do something extraordinary, guess what? We're going to move the goalpost before the dust even settles on what we just did. So next week, I'm opening up the archives. I'm going to start sharing some of my favorite accomplishments, not to brag, but to start using them as a jumping off point about what I learned and who I became in the process of earning that accomplishment. And I also want to model what it looks like to own your journey in a humble way. Because the next level of confidence doesn't come from doing more. It comes from finally recognizing what you've already done and keeping promises to yourself in the moment. Because you can't build elite confidence if you keep deleting the evidence. Because let's face it, high performers don't struggle with the doing. We struggle with acknowledging, right? So if you never celebrate the wins, here's the deal. Your nervous system, your body never actually knows you've won, and you're just continually under stress. And that has so many other factors. And if you're anything like me, owning your accomplishments and being okay with saying, look, this is what I did, that takes work. But let's get after this and let me know what kind of stories from my very colorful past you'd like to hear more about. Because at the end of the day, I'm here to help you. Because as one of my mentors, Rory Vaden, always says, you are best suited to serve the you that you used to be. So let's get after this. Let's buckle up for some nerdy space stuff, including my They Came From Outer Space t-shirt. Shout out Miss Pillion River Brewing, my hometown brewers. And let's just start having some fun with this. And let's start owning who we are and how we've gotten here. Onward and upward, everybody. Have a good one.